Yes. What's going on, everybody? It is Friday afternoon here. We got early weigh-ins for this week's UFC 302 pay-per-view card that is going to be headlined by Islam Makhachev and Dustin the Diamond Poirier. I can't wait for this main card. I can't wait for fight night. I've got a decent amount of tracked action this week. I've got a greasy four-legger already put together for you guys. 2 weeks ago, we just missed. We hit leg 1. We hit leg 2. We hit leg 3. Leg 4 was fight ends by KO. And LaRon Murphy beat 7 shades of shit out of Edson Barboza for the full 5 rounds and could not knock him out. So close, so many times. And we came up just a little bit short. Hopefully some of you hedged out with fight goes to decision there. But we were this close. So, it makes me hungry. It gets my mouth watering to get this week's greasy four-legger to cash. So I'm fired up to put this one together for you guys. I've got 4 legs. Let's just get into it. I'll talk to you guys in the chat here afterwards. Let me just take you through leg by leg here. Leg number 1 is going to be the Eileen Perez money line at -192 on DraftKings Sportsbook. I'll bring the stats up here. The stats are available on your Uncle Weezy's Patreon, your Uncle Weezy's Dub Club. The links are below. $25 a month probability package is going to have a really dope subscriber-only package of content. Just the tip, as you know it, the 2.5 hour versions that you've been seeing on YouTube will now be Patreon only, and we'll be bringing a much shortened version of Just the Tip with just the key points and the picks. That'll be under an hour for sure to YouTube, and bring the subscriber-only show Probability, which we did for free. The link to that show, really one of the most innovative shows on YouTube when it comes to the data side of gambling and how it meets our stylistic reads and how we find the underpriced bets according to the prior performance, according to the benchmarks. We compare the implied probability of the betting lines against all the potential outcomes that have already happened for fighter A and fighter B. Really innovative show. Check out that show. But that show is going to be a subscriber-only show going forward as well. So join up with the Patreon community for $25 a month. I think me and Brady have got something really cool here going forward for that show and for the content that's going to be associated with it. So come along on that journey with us. Check out the Patreon. Check out the Dub Club. It's the best way to support my work. But the leg 1 is going to be the Eileen Perez money line here. She looked great on the scales. Looked like Edwards just made weight, but she had to get the box of shame to do it, and she did look a little bit drained. But this is not a fight I think is going to be close. Jocelyn Edwards has a lot of red over here in her grappling efficiency ratings, while Eileen Perez has got a lot of green, and that's because Eileen Perez is a very active and efficient wrestler. She's landing 4.9 takedowns per 15 minutes and only allowing 0.8. She's out-controlling her opponents 54% to 28%. And we're seeing Jocelyn Edwards get out-controlled 36% to 14%. So I think the differential here in the ability for A, to get takedowns, B, to win minutes in the grappling exchanges heavily favors Eileen Perez in this fight. And her training at the Goat Shed, she's just going to be getting better and better at using her grappling in order to win minutes and bank rounds. And I even think that there's a pretty good chance that she gets a finish here. I do have 1 unit on the under 2.5 rounds in this fight. I got it at plus 240 earlier in the week. It went the other way. I could have got it as high as plus 300. But it's come the other way now. A lot of people are on violence in this fight. These two ladies do not like each other. But leg 1 is going to be that Eileen Perez money line. I'm doing the parlay this week on DraftKings because the final odds will come out looking a lot better on DraftKings than they do on Bet Rivers. So Eileen Perez money line -192 is going to be leg number 1 of this parlay. Leg number 2, we're going to start off the main card with Randy Rude Boy Brown and Elizu Capoeira Zaleski dos Santos. And Zaleski dos Santos has been getting dropped a lot lately. Randy Brown's got a lot of power, and Randy Brown is definitely not the most durable guy in the UFC either. Let me and this is the stats package here that you get access to when you sign up to your Uncle Weezy's Patreon here. We got the matchup template for every fight. We've got the betting models for over-under bets, and for you can see right here, this is my betting model for inside the distance, knockout, submission, decision, unanimous decision, and split and majority decision. And then you also get the over-under betting model for fight doesn't go, under 2.5. Sorry. Fight doesn't start round 3, under 1.5. Fight doesn't start round 2. You get the divisional benchmarks. You get each fighter's performance in comparison to that benchmark. You get the combined performance of the two fighters and how it compares to the divisional benchmark and to the implied probability of the line. So you can find these underpriced lines. Down here in row 27, you can find the lines, what particular prop is best priced according to the implied probability of the line, the available benchmark for the division, and the combined performance of the two fighters. Now, Randy Brown has finished inside the distance 10 of 17 times, but for Zaleski dos Santos, it's only 5 of 14. But man, Zaleski was close to getting finished in round number 1 of the Fakhretdinov fight. He was this close to getting a finish of his own in the 3rd round. Zaleski should have finished Benoit Saint-Denis if there was a sane referee in that cage. So I think that the data is kind of underestimating Zaleski dos Santos' ability to be able to finish fights here due to the fact that he's had a couple of fights come so close to finishing that would have been stopped by other referees. In addition to that, Randy Brown's been finished in 4 of his 5 losses. As we can see here on the matchup template, Randy Brown's 18-5 as a pro, and he's 12-5 in the UFC. But in his losses, he's been submitted twice, and he's been knocked out twice. So he's only lost by decision once. So I think a guy like Zaleski, who's finished 4 of his 10 wins, but that could have been 6 of his 10 wins, like we know, and a guy who's been finished in 80% of his losses, I think Zaleski has some finishing equity. And in addition to that, you see Randy Brown finishing 50% of his wins. Zaleski's been finished in 1 of his 3 losses, but Zaleski's pushing 38 years old now, getting a lot older, and he's been dropped 6 times in the UFC. So I think that there's a good potential for violence in this fight. My over-under betting model says that it's fairly priced because there's going to be vig in these lines. So when you see overpriced by 1.2%, overpriced by 3%, overpriced by 2%, obviously there's going to be vig. So that line is still going to be fairly priced, even if the model says it's overpriced by 1 to 3%, let's say. So for instance, for fight doesn't go to decision here, we got a 51.46% implied probability and a 55 over here. So, there's about 7% of vig in this line. So to only be overpriced by 1%, 3%, and 2% is very fair. So I like the fight doesn't go to decision here. We're going to play that at minus 110 on DraftKings Sportsbook. That we got to go up here to fight props. And we're going to go down here to Brown, Zaleski dos Santos, no, minus 110. That brings us up to plus 190, 2 legs into this parlay. Leg 3, another violence prop here, is going to be the under 2.5 rounds in a fight that is now on the main card. They took Jailton Almeida versus Fat Romanov, and they put that on the prelims. And now the main card replacement is going to be Nico the Hybrid Price versus Alex Morono. So this is going to be a fun one. These guys are really going to scrap. That's what Price does. He kind of comes forward, throwing bombs, looking to land the big shot and knock you out. He did knock out Alex Morono when they first fought several years ago, a fight that Morono was dominating up until the point where Price just swung a right hook all the way from Cape Coral, Florida, right to Morono's chin with less than 1 second left in the round. That just slept Alex. So I think that this fight is going to finish inside the distance. First, let me just put this in the Let me get the numbers up here for you guys. Now, I'm going to have to go back here because this was supposed to be. There we go. Now, this was minus 134 earlier in the week. We're going to be paying minus 145 here because this line is definitely moving. People are expecting violence here. And it's overpriced by about 13.6% according to the benchmark. But we can see that Nico Price fights have finished inside the distance 13 of 16 times and have finished under 2.5 rounds 11 of 16 times. So I just think that this fight probably finishes in round one. These guys are absolutely going to swing, and that's the way they both fight. They both are not particularly technical on the feet. Neither one of them is going to offensively wrestle all that much. And if Nico does wrestle here, he could easily wind up in a guillotine and get choked out. But these guys are going to swing hooks from the hip, and I think somebody's going to get served. And don't forget, this fight did finish in 2 rounds the first time, and there were some finishing opportunities for both fighters in that first 10 minutes. Now, these guys are much more shop worn. They got a lot more miles on the engine. So I think that both of these guys at this point in their career are a lot less durable than they were the first time they met when that fight ended in 10 minutes, not 12 and a half, which is what we're looking for here. So I do like this one to finish in the first 2 rounds. We're going to take that under 2.5. It's one that the data doesn't like, but it's a stylistic read that I like right now because I see Morono's durability taking a serious hit here. I don't really trust it. And then you saw Nico Price get knocked out in less than 1 minute by a shot that didn't even look like it landed that flush by Robbie Lawler. So, yeah, I like violence here. Minus 145. It's not a data play. It's more a play on my stylistic read of how this fight is going to play out. And I think that the fight that they did move this fight to the main card also kind of like, and don't forget, Morono is not a New York guy. He's a Texas guy. Nico Price is from Florida. So, I mean, like these guys aren't hometown guys, but they put them on the main card. Why? Because they're going to get in the middle of the cage and swing dicks while they probably think that Jailton Almeida is just going to dry hump Fat Romanov for about, 15 straight minutes. And if he does that, that would just be like almost considered porn, that they don't want to air, for on the pay-per-views. So in that case, they're just going to put it on ESPN Plus and let people watch it there. But I don't think that this one's going to see the third round. So under 2.5 rounds for Price Morono, minus 145. That brings us up to plus 390 for 3 legs. And then this time I want to give you guys a leg to hedge out on, a fatter leg that if we do hit the first 3 legs of this parlay, we could take the other side, lock in some nice profit. So leg number 4 is going to be the fight starts round 3. Yes. So we're saying that the fight's going to go through round 1 and 2 and keep going in round 3. Fight starts round 3, yes, for Sean Strickland versus Paulo Costa. That is a minus 280. So we're going to go up here to round props. And to start round X, we're going to scroll down here to Strickland Costa. The fight to start round 3, yes, minus 280 brings us up to plus 565 for this 4-legger. So if we go to my over-under betting model for this fight, we will see for the fight starts round 3, yes, that was minus 240. Now it's minus 280. So definitely money coming in. People see the value on this line. Now, it's overpriced by 13% according to the benchmark, but 6 of 7 Strickland fights and 1 of 2 Paulo Costa fights that have been scheduled for 5 rounds have seen round 3. So that's 77.78%. And we know that Strickland's finish came against Abus Magomedov, who literally gassed out after 5 minutes in that fight. And then the Paulo Costa, he had too much red wine, ladies and gentlemen, the night before that fight against Israel Adesanya. And you know how it is. Red wine, it makes you logy. And then he went out there and he got his ass shaved by Israel Adesanya, and that fight didn't see round 3. But I think the stylistic components of this matchup, first of all, the fact that Paulo Costa couldn't get Luke Rockhold out of there, who was completely drained after 5 minutes of fighting. He hadn't seen the inside of an octagon in like 4 years. He was completely gassed after 5 minutes, and Paulo Costa still came nowhere close to finishing him. I just don't think Costa's that dangerous anymore. And I feel like the only way that this fight finishes in the first 10 minutes is if Strickland just goes out there and shaves Costa's ass, not the other way around. I don't think Paulo Costa really has power anymore. I haven't seen it. I mean, I don't care if you knocked out Soldier Boy McClellan a long time ago, or any of the other bums that you knocked out on your way up to the Adesanya fight, but I kind of feel like Costa's at his best when his opponent wants to wrestle and he stops the takedowns, keeps it standing, and outworks you on the feet, out pressures you on the feet. But Sean Strickland's not going to be afraid of him. I think he's going to meet him in the middle, and I think that he's going to outwork him and eventually get him walking back. But I think, potentially there's a late finish possibility here for Sean Strickland. But I do think that this fight's going to start round 3. There's been a lot of steam on this number. I got the over 2.5, I think, at like minus 160 earlier in the week. But this is a nice little parlay piece. It's plus EV according to my model. And, I think it even up until like minus 315, minus 320, 25, this thing is probably going to still be worth it as a parlay piece. So when we bring out those 4, it comes out to plus 565 on DraftKings Sportsbook. If you look at Bet Rivers Sportsbook, this thing is currently sitting at plus 546 because it's minus 315 for the fight to start round 3 for Strickland versus Costa. And it's minus 155 for the Price versus Morono under 2.5 rounds. So definitely some better lines on DraftKings here that can get us a better number at plus 565. What's up with you guys in the chat? Who's hanging out with us here today? We got bad boy Viv in the room saying, "Oi, let's go." What's up, Viv? Good to see you hanging out in here. We got my guy Olajuwon Dream in the room saying, "Oi, let's get greasy." And we got Show Nuff in the room saying, "Uncle Weezy, you about to serve up that grease." Oi, let's go, Show Nuff. TH in the room saying, "Oi." And we got my guy Olajuwon Dream saying, "Dope shirt, Weezy. Appreciate you, man." Got some new threads here. It's a beautiful day out here in Chicago. So as soon as I'm done talking to you guys, I'm going to head out and enjoy the sunlight, go for a walk with the dog, and relax a little bit. It's going to be beautiful. But thank you guys for hanging out in here live with me. 82 of yous hanging out here ready to cash some greasy 4-leg parlays this week. Hit that thumbs up. Hit that subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. I'm very close to 3,000 subscribers. I'm very honored to have that many subscribers on this channel. So let's get me to 3,000 subscribers here as soon as possible. I appreciate each and every one of you. And also, leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think of the parlay, or if you've got a greasy 4-legger of your own. And please consider joining that Patreon. It is the best way to support the work. And it's also going to give you access to the best statistics, analytics, and betting models in the game, that if you are a do-it-yourselfer, or if you are the type of gambler who wants to do all the research before you make your decisions, not only are you going to get access to my picks, not only are you going to get access, these are the probability show notes, but if we go in here, I can show you the fight write-ups, which are just about to go out to my people on Patreon. You get access to the write-ups for every fight on the card. You get access to all the stats in the stats package, the individual fighter stats, and every single metric that you could possibly imagine, coming from striking, grappling, control time, DFS stats, record, finish stats. And then you got the matchup stats. Then you got the over-under betting model. Then you got the prop betting model, fight write-ups, access to the Discord, access to all the track bets. Can't do better than this for $25 a month. So support me on the Patreon. That's the best way to support my work. But if you don't want to do that, hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe, and leave me a comment. Antonio Esparza in the room saying, "Oi, what's up, Unc? I'm praying for Islam to get his ass shaved tomorrow night." Yeah, it's kind of like dog or pass on that line. I think Islam wins and wins fairly easily, but Dustin Poirier plus 500, it's worth a shot, man. The guy can absolutely crack, and he's been in there against literally the best fighters for a very long time. So maybe he can find some success tomorrow night there. But I still think Islam gets the job done. Billy Briz saying, "I love the button up, Unc." What's up, Billy? How's it going, man? Pub Sports Radio, very own Billy Briz in the house. We got Olajuwon Dream in the room saying, "Rude boy." What's up, Olajuwon? We got Alec Brewer saying, "I did Morono by round 1 or 2 KO with plus 300. That plays right in with the under 2.5 rounds that I got going for this parlay." So yeah, I'm with you there, dude. I think that there's some value on the Morono sub as well. Morono inside the distance, I think is a good look, and his decision line at plus 210 is something that my analytics liked. But man, I mean, like these guys are both so shop worn. I think somebody's going to get served, and especially with the way that they fight. So I like any kind of early violence props. I think we're going to have some value this week on that fight. Round robin of Morono 2-3 and row 2-3. That's pretty cool. I like that idea, man, because Morono doesn't finish fights early a lot, and neither does Price. Price has actually earlier in his career a lot, but lately more of his finishes have come late, whether they're for or against. Olajuwon loves the greasy four-legger. Let's get it, man. Ruthless Soda Pop in the room saying, "Oi, Weezy, what do you think about the Grant Dawson minus 3.5 point spread at minus 200? I feel like Dawson is live for a finish, and I can't picture Selecki winning a round either. I don't mind it. That brings the price down to like from minus 500 to minus 200. I think it's a pretty good look. I've got Dawson by sub. I was considering putting Dawson round 3 decision in the greasy four-legger this week, as well as Jailton Almeida inside the distance. That was also going to be something, but those lines have moved so much from earlier in the week that I just can't endorse playing them at the current lines. But I think that that's a good play. I think that's a good look there, a good idea, Ruthless, to get the number down, to reduce your exposure should it go tits up. And I think that's a pretty good way to do it. My least favorite group ever, UB40 with the red wine. Love it. Let's get it greasy and make it easy. Let's go, man. We got let's go Weezy for Bob Spikerman's all the way from the Netherlands. Good to see you hanging out in here, Bob. Thanks for being with us. We got Michael Swick in the room saying add the boost to get plus 707. That would be cool. Yeah, that's right. It is a pay-per-view. So we can get that DraftKings boost to get probably a 20% boost. So great call by Mike Swick there. The quick Mike Swick to get that boost up to plus 707. Loving it. I'm going to be doing that myself. I'm gonna apply the boost to this greasy four-legger this week. And we got Olajuwon Dream in the room saying, "My own Lambo parlay. Let's go, man." Dude, you know, and by the way, my guy Brady gave me a degenerate parlay here. Oh, and we just lost a little bit of value. God damn it. It went to minus 115 on the Brown versus Zaleski dos Santos while I was yapping my fat lip here. But now it's plus 551. Either way, still not bad. But let me give you the degenerate parlay of the week. And it is going to be a methods parlay. So winning method. And it is going to be, let me see here. Jailton Almeida by KO. Now, I know we can do better than plus 300. Kevin Holland by submission, plus 240. Islam Makhachev by submission at minus 135 gets us plus 2267. That is your degenerate parlay of the week. I know Brady told me he got plus 3,000 something last night on FanDuel for that parlay. So that would be the way to go for the degenerate parlay. It's going to be Jailton by KO, Kevin Holland by submission, and Makhachev by submission. Let's see what that comes out to on Bet Rivers, where I think we can get some better prices. So let's see here. Jailton KO is plus 350. 350. All right. And then we got Holland by submission because Oleksiejczuk has 5 losses, 4 of them by submission. And Holland's got a mean Darce choke. So Kevin Holland by submission plus 240 brings us up to plus 1430. And then we get Makhachev by sub at what price here? Method minus 114, 27.76. See, I like that. I might put a quarter unit on that to win like 6.5 units. That would be a good idea. But that's your degenerate parlay of the week. It is going to be Jailton Almeida by KO, Kevin Holland by submission, Islam Makhachev by submission to get you plus 2,776. And I want to shout out DFS by the numbers. I also want to shout out my guy Luke, Sparring with Reality. They were both, obviously, I always do probability with Brady, but we brought on Luke as a special guest this week. Link to probability in the description of this video. You could take a look at how we got to all these bets by analyzing the data and our stylistic read of the fight, getting us to a probability parlay and a degen parlay for that show as well. So please consider being a member of the probability Patreon. $25 a month really is going to be a wealth of information every single week for the serious MMA UFC bettor. So thank you guys for joining us. We got 100 of you hanging out here live. Hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, get me to 3,000, and I will talk to you guys next week. We got D Spearman in here. We got Olajuwon loving the degen parlay, saying tree fitty. And great show as always, says Olajuwon. And televised lies saying, how do you think Holland will look coming off that ass shave from MVP? What if man's gun shy? I don't think he'll be gun shy because it's just, I think Paige does that to everybody. The dude is just a really difficult opponent to plan for and deal with inside the cage. He brings a very unique skill set that's very frustrating. So I think he'll be okay. And I think the short notice of this fight, because it was just made less than 3 weeks ago, you guys, the short notice of this fight absolutely favors a guy like Holland, who's so active, who's so ready to go on a moment's notice, as compared to a guy in Oleksiejczuk who's training in his garage with his buddies right now. So I do think Holland is going to probably win this fight and finish it inside the distance. And I think a knockout's, just as likely as a submission. But because Oleksiejczuk is a very durable dude, I think the more likely path for Holland here is by submission. So that's the degen parlay. That's what we're doing here. Yes, I can repeat the Greasy 4-legger for you, Matt. Leg 1 is going to be the Eileen Perez money line. Leg 2, the Randy Brown versus Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos fight doesn't go to decision. Does not go to decision. Fight finishes inside the distance. The under 2.5 rounds for Morono versus Price. And the fight starts round 3, yes, for Strickland versus Costa. That comes out to now plus 545 because the line on the Zaleski dos Santos fight doesn't go to decision, is moving just a little bit. And we got Kiki, sounds good, bro. Yeah, absolutely, man. You got it for sure. All right, you guys, I got to go. It's a beautiful day here in Chicago, so I'm going to go outside and enjoy it. You guys, let's stack cash tickets like flapjacks for UFC 302, and I will see you on Sunday on DFS by the Numbers YouTube channel for Stat Diggers. You guys have a good one. Good luck betting the fights. God bless each and every one of you guys. Take care.